Hi. So we're all stuck at home, right? I think we can all agree that we have more time than ever to spend on our phones. And our screen time, well, let's not even get into that. So, anyways, I was on my phone one day and I was just searching up random things. And I looked up two words, and these two words were our athletes. And the first suggestion to pop up was overpaid. Are athletes overpaid? Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not here to force you to believe that athletes are overpaid or that they're not. Instead, I'm just here to give you my perspective on becoming someone more professional in a sport compared to an average person. So, just to get this out of the way, humans are naturally inclined to think of themselves first. Don't believe me? I'll give you an example. Imagine you were on your phone right now as I was speaking, if you aren't already. Thank God we aren't in a live setting, because I would probably be thinking thoughts like, am I being too boring? Am I talking too slow? Like, there must be something wrong with me, right? But there's a possibility that you could just be texting a family member about an emergency and I would never know. Or you could actually think I'm boring, but let's just assume that's not the case. So I think it's pretty fair to say that it's just natural for us to think of ourselves first. And as someone who's played tennis for 10 years, and I'm not saying I did nothing but play tennis for 10 years, but just as someone with a bit of experience, I never got used to the feeling of having to pick up the racket and go play a match. Like, I would be anxious the day before, the night before, and even while doing any task, I would be thinking of what would happen tomorrow. And I want us to imagine this scenario together. Imagine I was at a really crucial moment, part of the match. The audience's eyes were getting intense. I start to let the pressure I put on myself get to me, and my racket slips and my grip is facing at a 30-degree angle instead of a 45. The ball hits the net, it falls back, and I lose the match. Anyone passing by could easily just think, wow, she must really suck for missing such an easy shot like that. But in my head, I could be thinking of why my racket had to slip at this exact moment, or the hundreds of hours I put into practice leading up to this match that feel like they are at waste. And I think from both of these scenarios, it's quite obvious that we as humans tend to evaluate our own actions based on intentions and others only based on results. And this is called the introspective illusion. It only took me 2 seconds to mess up the entire match. But imagine professionals who've been through this countless number of times. And this is just a possibility out of who knows how many. Why are we so quick to judge when we don't even really know both sides to the story? Okay, I get it. You may be thinking throwing a ball for a living is not a great contribution to society, and that's why athletes shouldn't be paid so much. But let's be honest. When have we ever associated a greater contribution to society with the greater sum of money? Like, why are diamonds so expensive when water is so cheap, yet we don't really need diamonds, but we do need water? The answer is, diamonds are so rare, that's why they're so expensive, right? In the same way, athletes cannot just be found anywhere. It takes a great sacrifice of your social life, finding a balance between school and your sport, mental strength, and of course physical abilities as well. And I can assure you that even after all of this, there is no guarantee that you will succeed. The glorious image you see on television when an athlete wins a championship, there's just so much behind that picture that isn't visible to our eyes. I think we can all agree that being a doctor or any job with an excessive amount of studying is extremely difficult, right? Well, why can we all agree on this? Because you've studied, I've studied, we both know how hard it is keeping up with exams, tests, assignments. But how many of us have actually tried to become a professional athlete? Well, I suppose not too many. Yet we still make assumptions when we aren't even fully aware of the whole story. And I'm not necessarily only talking about sports or athletes, because I know this might not even be your thing. I'm also implying this to daily life occurrences, like when you want to cut off a friend because you heard rumors that they were talking behind your back. In such a situation, you're blindly trusting an acquaintance more than your real friend. And this kind of ties with the way our generation as a whole behaves. When someone simply disagrees with the popular trend going on, they're flooded with hate. Yet we promote ideas like be yourself and love yourself when we still have such a narrow mindset where we only view things from our standpoint. And I'm not necessarily blaming this on our generation because there's a lot of contributing factors like media play and etc., but it's still important to be aware of it and acknowledge it. And so an example I'm pretty sure we've all heard of is when someone tries to cancel a celebrity. But when do we even ever try to think of what's going on behind the scenes or what the celebrity's point of view could be? Literally anyone could be making up these rumors, and I think we tend to forget that anything someone says could be taken out of context, manipulated, and used against them to make it seem like they said something which they actually didn't. And there's just so many cases like this you can find with a quick Google search where people's lives have been ruined because of something like this. And this is kind of why we're so easily influenced that even looking at things differently just feels odd. And we crave instant gratification so much that whenever we see something wrong, we do everything in our powers to bring it down without even realizing that we might not know everything going on, which is leading us to do more harm than good. And these days, everyone just thinks that they know it all. But it's funny because the more you learn, the more you will actually find out that you don't know. So before you jump to a conclusion in any aspect of your life, I hope you can keep this quote in mind. We do not see things the way they are. We see things the way we are. Thank you for listening, and it's okay if you aren't listening because I'll just assume that you're texting someone about an emergency.